Hey fam, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kevin, and this is Melanin Man Travels. Melanin Man Travels is committed to assisting, educating, and coaching single black men and queer black men on traveling abroad, living abroad, with the option of becoming a black expat. So hang out with us and learn more about my journey. Now, in a previous video, I shared the first part of my journey in becoming a Mexican resident. I live here in Guadalajara, Mexico. So instead of returning to the country every 6 months on a tourist visa, I wanted to become a resident. Now, the process, if you are not retired, is to become a temporary resident first. And then there's a whole process that you go through to become a permanent resident. So in that previous video, unfortunately, the first phase of my plans didn't work out the way that I wanted them to, basically because my paperwork wasn't completely in order. Well, I learned from those mistakes, and I planned better when I returned to the Mexican consulate in Las Vegas. Here's a tip for you. Make sure that you receive a signed letter from your financial institution where all of your funds are going to be verified that you're going to use for your residency process. You're welcome. I returned to the Mexican consulate earlier this summer. I received my resident visa, and then I came back to Guadalajara to complete the process on the Mexico side. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that will talk about the residency process for Mexico. I'm not going to go into detail here, but some people will say that the process on the Mexico side is very easy and straightforward. Other people will say that they had some challenges with the process. Due to my misunderstanding of some of the paperwork and some of the requirements that the Mexican consulate in Vegas had, I decided to use an immigration specialist. When I returned to Guadalajara, I used Gabby Pellicer with GP Expat Services, and I'm so glad that I did. I got a few benefits out of it. Here's one: peace of mind. Now, the residency process is done primarily in Spanish, and you're going to have various representatives that you're dealing with when you get to the immigration office. Some will speak English, but primarily, obviously, they're going to speak Spanish. So that can be challenging if your Spanish isn't at a level where you can converse regarding immigration matters. The second benefit for me was the quick turnaround time for me to get my residency card. I spent a total of about 2.5 hours in the INM office, and my immigration specialist walked me through the whole process, and at the end of the day, I walked out of the office with my resident card in hand. Now, I was working with Rogelio, again, my immigration specialist from GP Expat Services, and with him, I was able to clearly understand the entire process, and I was able to ask him those, specific questions to me about navigating travel now that I'm a Mexican resident. Unfortunately for me, during the last step of the process, I ran into a challenge with providing my signature. Due to a disability that I have, my handwriting is compromised, and my signature doesn't always look the same every time I sign it. Rogelio knew exactly how to handle this situation. He was very professional, and he knew what information that I needed to provide to the consulate or the immigration office so that I can have a successful result. I would have been totally confused and probably not even gotten my card if I had to do this process on my own. Thankfully, this is a one-time process. After 1 year, I'm able to extend my temporary residency for an additional 3 years. After that, I'll be able to extend it permanently. I highly recommend using GP Expat Services. Gabby Pellicer will take care of your immigration needs flawlessly. They supported me, again, for obtaining my 1-year temporary residency. But your residency or your immigration needs may be different from mine. But I'm sure Gabby and her team can help you out and get everything done the way that you need to. Check out their website. You can find her information in the video description. Now, here's some questions that you may want answers to. Now that I'm a Mexican resident, do I plan to live in this country forever? Have I put all of my eggs into one basket? And if not, what are my contingency plans? Will I ever return to the U.S.? As always, I'm not suggesting nor advocating that my advice is the best way to handle your situation. I'm only sharing what is working and what has worked for me so far. So, I'm going to answer the last question first. Will I return to the U.S.? Basically, I don't have a desire to return to the U.S. as a full-time resident. Because I lived in Los Angeles, the city that I was born and raised in, it is extremely expensive. So I needed to put in a contingency plan in the U.S. for in the extreme case that I did have to return and live there temporarily or permanently. And because of that, I wanted to have an affordable place to live. So when I embarked on this live abroad journey, one of the things that I did was to sell my house in Los Angeles and purchase a new home in a less expensive real estate market. I also wanted to establish residency in a non-income tax state. That way, I'd be able to save money in retirement and outpace the rising U.S. rental cost. So, if things continue to go according to plan, I'll continue to live abroad. Next question. Do I plan to live in Mexico forever? Short answer, I have no idea. My immediate goal was to establish legal residency somewhere outside of the U.S. so that I would not be forced to return if anything crazy were to happen. Let's say like a global pandemic. During COVID, there were people living abroad who were dealing with all kinds of immigration problems because they didn't have residency in the places that they were living. I want to do everything in my power not to end up in a situation like that. Again, everyone's situation is different, so you may have a familial issue like aging parents that will need your support in the future. So that might require you to return to the U.S. My parents transitioned many, many years ago. So for me, that's not really a consideration. You may have children who still reside stateside, like I do. These are things that you'll have to consider and make a plan for how your family challenges might impact your life abroad. Mexico may or may not be my forever home. However, it is a large, beautiful country with lots to explore and lots to learn. I currently live in Guadalajara, which is a fairly large city, but there are other cities that may also be a good fit for me. So, we'll see what the future holds. For me now, this is the exciting part of my journey of living abroad. Some people may need to find a place that quote unquote works for them, and that's it. I need a place that can serve as a home base so that I can be comfortable living or returning to in the future if need be. So far, Guadalajara has checked the box for me. I hope this information has been helpful for you. If it has been, please subscribe to my channel and like this video so that the algorithm can get more information like this to you and so that other people can see this video. Next question. Are all of my eggs in one basket, so to speak? The answer is no. There's a huge world out there for me to explore and to continue exploring. During my international travels, one question that I always ask myself is, do you think you could live here in whatever city that I'm visiting? My eyes and my ears are constantly open to a contingency plan. Some places that I visited are clear and absolute no's for me. However, there are other places that are good possibilities. So these locations are a part of my loose contingency plans. Actually, Mexico was a part of my initial contingency plan. When I started the process for my life abroad, South Africa was my number one destination. However, the pandemic impacted those plans, and I had to move my number two, Mexico, to my number one spot. This is why a contingency plan is extremely important, and it should be a living document. I have a city in South Africa and a city in Spain that could also work for me if need be in the future. However, I am constantly searching for additional locations just to be sure. So, if Mexico is your choice for a new home abroad, or another country, or even multiple countries, make sure that you are clear on the residency process for that location, and don't feel like you're locked into only one destination. If the first place doesn't work, try another place. The key takeaway is for you to not act impulsively. Make a plan and then make a backup plan. Why? Because life happens and things change. And change can be a positive thing. It all depends on your perspective. See, I started this expat journey in 2020, but I didn't move until 2023. For some, it took a longer time, and for others, a shorter time. Move at your pace and according to your circumstances, and watch the world open up to you. As always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hasta luego.